What the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald can teach about tariffs. What? Yes, sir. Remember the Gordon Lightfoot song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald? It's actually a true story. It happened in 1975. And I think Gordon Lightfoot had written about it in 1976. Freaking brilliant song. One of the best songs ever, without question. Anyway, so check this out. Here's the lyrics, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Just freaking wonderful song all the way around it. With a load of iron ore 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty, the good ship, when true, was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early. A load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more. The ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin. And as the big freighters go, it was bigger than most, with a crew and good captain well seasoned. Concluding some terms with a couple steel firms when they left fully loaded for Cleveland. And later that night, the ship's bell rang. Could it be the north wind they were feeling? So, we're learning a couple things, aren't we? We're learning that it had tons of 26,000 tons of iron ore, all right? And they were working right here. There's pride of the American side. As big freighters go, it was bigger than most. Concluding some terms with a couple steel firms when it left fully loaded for Cleveland. Interesting, huh? Interesting, because it was down on the, I think it was Lake Michigan, right? Was it Lake Michigan? Something like that. Lake Superior? I think it was one of those lakes. And it was just such a great song. But anyway, we're moving iron ore internally, domestically, from one port in was it Wisconsin? Yeah, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin and going to Cleveland. Interesting. This is in 1975. Check this out. We're going to go back all the way to 1907. Let's see what we got here. I did a video on this a couple weeks ago. We're going to see a debate among newspapers, the Lewiston Sun, Daily Sun, and the Bath, I forgot what the Bath Anvil, about steel tariffs in 1907. There's a debate going back and forth between these two papers. I don't know if this is before the Bath Iron Works was, because that's a big firm in Bath, Maine, Bath Iron Works. That's where a lot of dry docks and whatnot. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I know they still build that stuff. I just don't know how it works. We had dry docks in Portland, Maine, when I was growing up. They put it you see it on that. We take the Casco boat bay lines and into Portland from Peaks Island, to go to school, and you see the dry dock there. I don't know if they still have it or not. They probably do. But anyway, Bath is a big steel where they build boats and stuff like that. Ships, I should say, not just boats. But anyway, so in 1907, there's a big debate about steel tariffs. And what we're going to see here, check this out. The anti-tariff side says, this right here, now how could the protective tariff on steel be beneficial to the country when the burden of that tariff on the bridge, the locomotive building, had to be made up by protective tariffs on bridges and locomotives, and the burden that the tariff on bridges, locomotives put on the railroads and their charges for freights and passengers. So essentially, if you have a tariff on steel, it's going to go downstream where everybody else is going to either need a tariff or pay higher prices. That's what they're basically claiming, the anti-tariff people. The pro-tariff people then say, this is the same last line of defense in which the free traders have always made their last stand. The theory that the consumer is necessarily penalized to the extent of the protection accorded to the producer. Because a protective tariff permits a higher prices of steel products than would otherwise prevail, it does not follow that higher rates must be paid by passengers and freight on the railways which buy the higher price rails and rolling stock of steel. We have no data at hand to indicate how freight rates or passenger rates on American railroads compare with those on British railroads, but there is another transportation field which illustrates the point. On the Great Lakes, American vessels have a lucrative trade all to themselves, and shipbuilding has grown and flourished there as it not in any other part of the U.S. The great steel steamships which ply between the lake ports, the Edmund Fitzgerald, have no foreign competition any more than the railroads. The railroads, indeed, are their only competitors. Now, these American ships, built exclusively of tariff-protected steel and themselves are absolutely protected, are carrying freight at a much less rate per mile than any vessels in the world. These American ships, built exclusively of steel protection, with no competition other than the railroads, are carrying freight at a much less rate than anywhere else in the world. So, This 26,000 tons of iron ore going from Wisconsin to Cleveland, essentially, is being, again, this is in 1975, and the articles from 1907, was being shipped because it had no foreign competitors back in 1907 when there was steel tariffs, and it was still being shipped cheaper than it was when we had competition in the international highway, in the international seas. Crazy. The Sun's further argument that protection discourages free foreign trade does not strengthen its case, since our foreign trade today is greater than it has ever been. It's not because there's nothing to carry that our ships are not making foreign voyages. They're traveling internationally. But that the ships are unable to compete with the foreign vessels which are profitably employed in carrying the trade. There is no trouble with our foreign trade, and our workmen are better off than any other nation, and the American problem is to get the workers to do the job, just like historically. All of which conditions to our mind that exclusive evidence that the protective policy has been a benefit to the country. The fact remains there are no workmen in the world who have so much of the good things of life as those in the United States, and there is no other adequate explanation except the protective policy that has been so consistently pursued by the American government. 100%. Check this out, too. You want to hear something funny? Listen to this. This is from Styx's debut album. I don't know if you can see that. And the first song on there is a freaking awesome song. It's 13 minutes. Movement for the Common Man. A Movement for the Common Man. Check this out. I can only play it for a second before I get like this. Only 5 seconds. Listen.
Kids nowadays, that's the whole thing. Too much money. They got too much money. They don't have to go out and struggle.
All right, so you hear that? So they got kids today, they have too much money. They have too much money. They don't have to go out and struggle like we used to have to do. That was this was published in 1972. I just found that funny because everything that's old is new again, essentially. Kids today have too much money. And it's just another guy before that was saying the same thing. Like, nothing against you gentlemen, but the last guy came in here, had long hair. He stunk. I said, did his parents teach him not to take a bath? I said, man, this guy might be educated, but he doesn't know how to clean himself. And then the next guy said, kids today have too much money. They don't have to struggle like we used to have to. I'm a depression baby, the WPA. If they can't find work, what's wrong with doing a WPA and getting a broom in somebody's hands? Is it too menial of a job to sweep the streets, to clean up the country, clean up the city? They're in Chicago because that's where Styx is from. Anyway, the point being is everything that's old is new again. The same thing. We had this tariff argument in 1907. We had cheaper transportation in the lakes from which the Edmund Fitzgerald was. We had more people working, making more money than their competitors all over the world, and yet we still had no inflation. I mean, a little bit of inflation, but not much. If you look at, a little bit of inflation relative to back then, and now we would just say that's nothing. No Federal Reserve Board to blame it on. But they did have inflation. I'm not trying to deny it. If you actually look at what people were arguing about, they were saying inflation is too high. There was some, for sure. But at the end, with the major tariffs, or 1890, the McKinley Act, then the Dingley tariff in 1897, which are huge. They increased tariffs by 52%, and we had no inflation at all until about the late 19 aughts. Anyway, I just find it funny, man. So what the Edmund Fitzgerald can teach you about trade policy and tariffs. Very interesting, is it not? Yes, it is. And then Styx. What, Styx music? Who would have thought? Styx. The first couple of Styx albums were freaking fantastic. When they went, Dennis DeYoung wanted to go opera stuff. Oh, you just want to jump. You just literally want to put your head in a vice grip while you're hearing Hillary Clinton cackle and listen to a speech by Kamala, and you just want to be thrown into a shark-infested water after you slice your freaking wrist, because it's nothing is worse than, oh my goodness. All right, God bless. Smash that like button. We'll see you.